You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 99. I am just so overwhelmed with excitement and pride and joy that I have showed up here 99 times with a podcast episode. Hard to believe that in just a few days, it's going to be the 2-year anniversary of the start of the podcast. So if you have been listening since 2 years ago in September, or if this is your first episode, I thank you for helping me continue to grow with my message, helping me to continue to reach more women like us that are yearning to know that we can thrive and feel fulfilled, even though we didn't have the children we always dreamed of. So my ask of you in celebration of our next episode, which is going to be 100, could you please rate and review the podcast? And I ask this of you, not because I want all the accolades, and knowing that you listen to the podcast and think it's great. I love knowing that. But I really want that done so that the more the podcast is rated and reviewed, the more likely it is when a woman is searching for resources or Googling what to do about life after infertility fails, or how to live life happily if you can't have the children you always dreamed of, the podcast might show up in their Google search because of your review and because of the rating that you gave this podcast. So if you haven't done that, I would love, love, love to invite you to do so and help a woman out who might be in need in navigating this journey that we are so not prepared for and not offered enough resources of how to navigate it in a way that feels good to us and makes us feel as though life can be easy and joyful and glorious again. So as I start on this episode, number 99, it came to me as a result of a conversation that I had. I did a live yesterday with Stephanie Joy Phillips, who is the founder of World Childless Week. If you aren't familiar with World Childless Week, I invite you to get on worldchildlessweek.com and listen to all that Stephanie has put together, maybe read on the website of all the opportunities that you are going to have September 11th through the 17th to be part of her free resources around World Childless Week. Every day of the week, there is something that you can tune into. There are webinars, there are speakers. I myself will be speaking and be part of a panel on the 17th of September at 1 p.m. Central. So I invite you to go on and listen to hear what is going on during World Childless Week and find something that you can tap into to allow yourself to know that you are not alone on this journey. So Stephanie Joy Phillips, I invited her to be on a live with me on Instagram. And we were just having a conversation about World Childless Week. And we got on the topic of legacy. And if you are somebody who is questioning of your legacy and what your legacy is going to be if you're not a mom, I first want to state that you aren't alone. This is a hot topic for many of us. Many of the students that I work with in my Thrive community have come to me questioning that. I at one time questioned what my legacy could be if it wasn't a child that I gave birth to or a child that I raised. And when Stephanie and I were talking about legacy, she really opened my eyes to something that I thought was worth sharing with you today on the podcast. So if you are somebody who is maybe wondering what you're going to leave behind as far as a legacy goes, I want you to know that your legacy is much greater, I think, and much easier to achieve than you might think it is. Because somehow in society, we have been invited, or maybe, I don't want to say brainwashed, but maybe some of us have been brainwashed to believe that you have to physically leave a child behind to create your legacy. But really, a legacy is something that can include accomplishments, it can include traditions, values, maybe it's a possession that's passed down, a contribution, but really like a lasting impact that you are remembered or influential by the giving of something from you. And Stephanie and I were talking yesterday on the live. If you want to rewatch it, it's on my Instagram page at lana.manikowski. But we were talking about the legacy that she created through World Childless Week. I created a legacy through starting this podcast. It's something that I very much see as something that I gave birth to and continue to nourish on a weekly and daily basis. But she pointed out to me that your legacy could be something that is so impactful just by saying hello to somebody, by giving someone a compliment, by asking someone how they're doing. If you can offer them maybe advice or offer them a listening ear, you are probably going to create a legacy for that person that they are always going to remember you for. And I don't want to even call them small legacies by doing that versus something in air quotes that's considered like big by creating something as grand as the Others Day brunch or World Childless Week or a podcast. I think the legacy that we can leave by simply being a loving human is so much more impactful than these things that you might end up in the media covering, or you might forever be passed down as knowing somebody who was the founder of something. Because I think back to when I first was on the phone with a girlfriend of mine who asked me if I had thought about getting workup and going to a reproductive endocrinologist to see why I hadn't gotten pregnant yet at age 37. That is like a legacy she left for me. All these years later, now that I'm beyond my fertility treatments and know that I'm not going to become a mom, I will always think of her when I think about somebody who offered me that first idea or that first notion of reaching out and even starting my diagnosis and starting my path through my fertility treatments. Like for her, that is like to me a legacy that she left to me. And I think about how many people you probably touch on a daily basis by being you. And when we think of legacy having to be something that is global or uh, known by many, it can feel like we're never going to achieve that part of our life that feels like we are leaving a legacy. But maybe it's as simple. I'm going to kind of go through some ideas of some ways that you can create legacy and create impact maybe in your own life and then pass it on for others. So, first of all, like determining what type of legacy you want to create. If it is being somebody who is a positive person or somebody who is an educator, maybe on infertility, or being an advocate about something that you're passionate about. Maybe it's related to your career or a community that you're part of, or, like that cause that makes you passionate. So understanding how you can on a daily, weekly, monthly, like decide the frequency of it, but how you can start to create goals for what it is that you want to be known for. And even like I say, if it's just you reaching out and complimenting people, maybe you want to think, how can I every day say hello to one stranger? How can I every day give a compliment to that person that's walking by and they have this darling haircut and you say, I love your hair. Like to me, that is creating legacy of being somebody who is always offering positivity or finding opportunities to say hello to that person who might not have had anyone else in their day say hello to them. I guarantee you that makes a huge impact. Maybe giving back. So actively deciding that you want to align yourself with a philanthropic organization or some sort of community service. And it doesn't have to be generosity through finances. It could just be helping others, maybe showing up at an old folks home or in a nursing home and finding ways that Maybe you can lead an activity during their activity hours. Maybe it could be organizing events or creating opportunities to bring joy to a community. That could just be sitting down and coloring with young youth, or maybe it's helping kids with homework in an after school program, boys and girls club. But there's countless ways that you can find opportunities to give back. And, through that mentoring and maybe education, sharing your knowledge and experience with others, because there is so much about you that I promise is unique to you and can touch so many others through your greatness and through the path that you have lived. Something else that I think it is very important is documenting your journey. So maybe keeping a record of experiences, maybe lessons that you've learned, accomplishments, things that can maybe be collected in journaling, paper thinking, books, or some other form of media, because I think that there's so much of our life that we are continuously impacting others and impacting the world. And if we don't take record of it, it's so easy that things just maybe fall by the wayside and you don't remember all the things that you have accomplished. Building relationships. So maybe fostering positive relationships with family, with friends, maybe with colleagues, and seeing how your impact in these people's lives create a significant part of your legacy. Another thing I was thinking of is sustainability. Maybe it's considering ways that you can impact the environment. Maybe you're somebody who wants to cut down on the use of plastic. Maybe you're somebody who wants to use more reusable items and create more of a healthy environment in our energy, in a more energy towards a healthy environment, and creating that for future generations. And sustainability practices can be part of your legacy. Maybe advocating for a cause. I recently was a guest on someone's podcast, and I had told them that I'm an advocate for infertility, and they corrected me and they told me I was an activist. And hearing someone say that about me, I bet you there's ways that people see different things in you, that they see you as an advocate or an activist. Correction, they call you an advocate or an activist for a cause because you're championing a cause in maybe a social issue you're passionate about, or maybe change that you want to see created, or leaving your mark on that cause's progress is such an amazing way to create legacy for yourself and feeling as though you're leaving something behind. I also think it's a really beautiful option to consider leading by example. And maybe it's being a role model in the way that you live your life, in the way that you have gone through your infertility journey or your path to childlessness, and be an example and a role model to people that maybe are going to end up like us. That's something that drives me. And I know that there's probably so many people in your life that look at you and see the way that you are navigating your path after infertility. And you can be such a light to them. And you can be a role model with your ethics and with your values, and your behavior absolutely will inspire others to follow in your footsteps if they and their journey and they find that they are going to become childless, not by choice. Having you lead by example is such a powerful thing. And I also think maybe doing some planning about how you want to leave your matters in order as we age and we think about death and where we want to leave our money, where we want to leave the things that we've accumulated, making sure that your assets are distributed in a way that reflects your values and your wishes. Even though we don't have kids to leave things behind, there is so much that we can leave behind. Maybe it's to a cause, maybe it's to a person, maybe it's to something that you've been actively passionate about your whole life. But whatever it is, know that because you don't have kids does not mean that you do not have a legacy. You have an option every day, the minute you put your feet on the floor, to create a legacy just by being you every day. And I want you to know that your legacy matters and that, in my opinion, can be impactful in many more ways because you're touching so many people beyond just having a child. I feel like our legacy as women who are childless can be so much greater and so much wide reaching. And I want you to know that your legacy matters and that I believe in you. And I know that you are so impactful just by waking up and being you every day. So I hope you have a beautiful week. And I wanted to tell you that the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind applications are open right now. So if you have been thinking about how you can start to thrive and feel fulfilled and create a community with other women who have been on your journey, the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind is the perfect place for you to do that. The application process is solely just so we know that we are aligned with one another. What you're seeking is something that I can offer you in the Thrive Mastermind. So please go on to lanamanikowski.com/thrive, fill out the application, and know that you are saying yes to a journey that you will create lifelong friendships with other women who have been on this journey. We will come together weekly and we will talk about the things that maybe have you feeling stuck. And I can't wait for the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind to start. I know it is going to be an exceptional opportunity for you to create that life you're so deserving of. So have a beautiful week. I love you. And remember, it is never too late to discover your meaning. I'll talk to you next week.